Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Amanda Sarai, and this video is for the healers, the light workers, the empaths out there who are probably the ones who resonate with my channel anyway, who have dealt with betrayal and backstabbing and narcissistic abusers or relationships. And I don't mean to make light of that with that laugh, but oh my gosh, it has been a journey. If you have been dealing with that yourself, first, I want to say that you are not alone. And I am making this video because this has been an epidemic in the light worker and healer community, the empath community. Narcissists and empaths have a notorious connection. And I also want to say that right before I went live here, and it was 111, so on my timer right now, so this does feel relevant and important, I started to feel like I had to keep clearing my throat. So many people may feel like their voices have been suppressed on this topic, that they've been shut down, that they haven't been able to speak up, to speak their truth, that the truth was kind of taken away from them, if you will, that just came through that way. I don't know. So I do feel that this is a time of reclamation. Part of the healing process is reclaiming our voice and reclaiming our truth. So I actually just did a throat and womb chakra healing last week for my course. And part of that throat chakra energy is very much about being able to express ourselves authentically and to stand in our truth and to express our truth fully and completely. Now, what happens with narcissists is we deal with a ton of gaslighting, and what that really is projection. So this energy of backstabbing, betrayal, and all of that really dark stuff really has come to the surface. And I want to say also, the battle is over. The message has been coming through for a while now. It's time to lay down the swords. And it's time to surrender the battle, because it was never worth fighting anyway, truly, because those people really don't have any power, which is why they wanted to siphon ours. And if you experience this, I am sending you so much love, because it can be extremely challenging. I went through it myself, and it doesn't have to always be in the form of a romantic relationship, which I feel like is the most common way that they can seep into our lives. But it can be in a very different format where it becomes even more unclear. The depth of the entanglement isn't as obvious at first. So it can be friends, it can be coworkers, it can be roommates, it can be your own friggin' healer and teacher, as it was in my case. So the blinders go on. And I want to say also that this is all ultimately for our greatest good. And that is because we get to take our power back from these situations. And that is the energy that is happening right now in the collective. I had conversations with multiple friends, some of whom I hadn't connected with in quite a long time. And it turned out, it came to light for each and every one of us in the same week, right before that last Taurus Scorpio eclipse. On October 28th, I think is what the date was. So that very week is when we all found out the truth about a situation, the truth about a person in our life who had totally gone behind our back and spread lies and were manipulating other people to believe that we had done such and such. And the truth is, what they were saying we did is exactly what they did, or they were trying to mask some really ugly truth about the way that they were truly behaving themselves. So it's really, really intense, dark stuff in some cases. So again, I'm sending you a lot of love, and it is time to take your power back. It is time to heal, to recuperate, to retrieve all the energy that was siphoned from you, because that is the energy that they operate in. It's this vampiric, parasitic energy, because the truth is they are jealous. They do not have any power of their own. They have to siphon it because they, and in truth, when we zoom out, they are wounded themselves. It doesn't excuse it. There is no excusing that bad behavior. But from our perspective, as the compassionate people we are, this is the ultimate level of compassion that we are being brought to. Can you recognize the wounded child within your tormentor? Can you recognize the wounded child within your abuser? And again, this is not to excuse their bad behavior and to say, oh, well, you know, they're just traumatized too. Of course not, because we were all dealing with our own trauma. We all have our own backstories, especially the Lightworker community. People who are drawn to this path, most of us have overcome some pretty serious obstacles and have dealt with a great deal of trauma that has compounded, trauma that has brought us into repetitive situations. This narcissistic dynamic was reflected for me through bosses, through intimate relationships, through friends. It just really kind of spanned the gamut. And, you know, it took a long time. I have a lot of deep Scorpio in my chart, but part of that is just the process. And the deeper we dive, the higher we rise. This is something I say regularly. So the deeper we have to go in healing, the more power we can take back for ourselves and the more power we have to catalyze the rest of our journey going forward. This is one way to look at it. And it gives us insight, it gives us wisdom, it gives us the capacity to hold space for others, the capacity to understand, the capacity to hold compassion above all. So when we can rest in that state of compassion, when we can find peace in spite of the situation, when we can find inner peace, that means we have won. Because there is no battling inner peace because that transcends duality consciousness. This is the peace that passeth all understanding, is to rise above it and to recognize that it's not worth fighting. And in truth, they're never going to win. They were never going to win. It forced us to go through hell in many cases, but ultimately, what does that do for us? It shows us how powerful we really are. We are forged through the fires of alchemy and transmutation. So in one sense, if you can get yourself there, and I'm not suggesting you have to get there now or immediately, you can find thanks. You can find gratitude and appreciation for what the situation taught you, for the boundaries that you needed to put in place, for all the little ways, all the insidious ways you are giving your power away or seeing other people as above you or people pleasing, and the list goes on. Anytime you make somebody else's situation more important than yours, that is you giving your power away. And I was doing that in very subtle ways myself that I didn't totally recognize it. And of course I had my blinders on and it got pretty dark. I don't know that it's the place for me to share the depths of what happened, but these people are used also. So I did a podcast episode you might want to listen to. The Courage to Confront Evil is a book by Carolyn Miss, an audiobook. But I reflected on that in my podcast. This was, I think, back in February, so it's there. And if you want to listen to that, it really gives a great deal of insight as to how people begin to operate in that way. And we choose the path of light, those of us who are on this path. Some choose to allow their wounds to bring them into a spiral of darkness. And it is through the weak spots in our energy field that the darkness can seep in. So the weak spots in our ego, if you will. So insecurities, self-doubt, anywhere that you have a trauma or wounding kind of energy from your childhood that made you feel unworthy or not good enough, or that brought some layers of shame and guilt. Shame is the lowest frequency levels of consciousness. I'm going to do another video about this because I dove into this one in my course yesterday as well, but it bears sharing widely as well. But in the course we go in depth, so if you want to go deeper, there's a lot of value in there. But anyway, the point is, they are operating from their wounding, and it's a 111 on the timer again, and we choose the path of choosing to transmute that into power. And I just saw 1111. They choose the path of revenge. They choose the path of inflicting further pain to make themselves feel better about themselves. They have to take people down in order to feel better about themselves. And that is not a light worker. That is not a healer. That is not somebody operating in Christ consciousness. They may talk a good talk, but are they walking the walk? And you can pay attention, because this is actually rampant in the awakening spiritual community. A lot of these false light gurus and such, they talk a great talk, many of them. They say all the right things, which makes you think that they know what's up and that they're doing the real work. It's not always the case, unfortunately. And one of our biggest tasks is learning discernment, 1212, and knowing when the frequency is off. So there's usually a frequency mismatch in something. And this was something that I had a blinder to, but I was also consciously kind of excusing and apologizing for that thing, for that comment, for a while, because I was like, I recognized the pain that this person had gone through, because they made a big deal of it, honestly. And it wasn't ever okay for me to talk about my stuff, but or when I did, it was like a burden. But that was constantly what they were talking about, right? So when we begin to notice that they say one thing, but then are operating in their real life, not on Instagram or publicly, they're operating in their real life totally out of alignment with what they're preaching, it's something to pay attention to. Obviously, are you walking the walk? This is embodiment. This is about operating in true integrity and authenticity. Is when you can embody, when you practice what you preach. Somebody from my past used to say, do as I say, not as I do. That is the absolute worst thing for people to instill in, authority figures. Back in the day, I think parents would say that to their children, right? So no, no. You should be a model for everybody in your life, especially if you are a parent. And I'm saying should, but yeah, that's what this path of authenticity and integrity and embodiment is. So the projection, the gaslighting has been very, very heavy on the lightworker community. Many of us have been targeted deliberately. And I mean that specifically, targeted. They saw our light, they saw our power, and they wanted to take it away. They siphoned it. Many of us had implants and hooks put into our energy field. If this is sounding a little dark, yeah. But the truth is that we are far more powerful. And there are ways to remove it. If you feel like you might have something like that in your energy field, then find a healer who can remove it. If you have more questions personally, you can email me as well. I'll put that down below, because this is a serious thing and I want to make sure that people are getting the appropriate assistance as well in taking their power back. And So now is the time to really step into our mastery as healers and light workers. This is the time to truly shine, but from a place of deep authenticity and integrity. So we need to be the beacons of light in a very grounded and anchored way. And if we have tears in our energy field where people are siphoning our power, we're going to be a little wobbly or shaky. And that narrative isn't, again, if people are taking our power, we always have the capacity to take it back, but we've got to remove the blinders in order to face the situation. So yes, this does involve shadow work in many cases. This does involve being radically honest about the role that you have played in enabling or allowing these people, situations in your life to continue. So yeah, it is hard and it is painful. And when you realize the depth of the betrayal, it can really, really cut deep. For me, it was almost a layer of, thank God I'm not as crazy as I thought I was, or, that there's not something wrong with me. When I figured out what was truly, truly happening underneath the surface, like I knew layers of it that were bad enough, but it's almost liberating to know. It is liberating, entirely liberating to know the truth. So the truth is coming to light. This is the time of revelations. And that can be dark things coming to the surface about people in our life, about ways of operating that are no longer in alignment, about things that have to go, and it can be really uneasy. So again, I want to send everybody love who is resonating with this, and know that you're not alone and that there is a path of light guiding us forward. It is our time. It is safe, and it is safe to put down the sword. It is safe to surrender the battle. We no longer have to do that. Maybe you've experienced psychic attacks and such. So bring in energy protection. That is also a guide that I created recently, very, very cheap and accessible. So I'll link that below, of working energetically. I do have the video on YouTube about the basic energetic hygiene, but if you want to go deeper into the cleansing and the clearing layers, that is linked below too. So, again, these entities, these individuals, they get taken over. These vampires, these parasites, the narcissists, they don't have an energy source of their own because they have given it away. They're operating in victim mode themselves. And so the victim becomes the victimizer in the way that they are operating. We choose different. And they can always choose different down the road in the future when they learn the lesson. What lifetime that's going to be, who knows? But we are in the business of being the beacon. We are in the business of being the way shower. We are in the business of holding compassion and the frequency of peace, which is very powerful. And this doesn't mean we excuse the behavior. Again, just really want to reiterate that. But it means that we rise above it. And we be that way shower that the world desperately needs right now. The only way violence is going to end is for everyone to stop being violent. And that also means with words. It means with our, our actions toward others. It doesn't have to actually involve war, right? Violence comes through words as much as anything. So this throat chakra, clearing it and expressing truth, words of love, healing, and compassion, that is truth. So I think it's really interesting. I just got chills in my leg as well, that was coming up as I sat down to film this. So make sure that, one more thing that I wanted to share that I saw on a post recently, and I just reshared it on my stories. Accusations from a narcissist are actually confessions. That credit goes to Stephen, I have no idea how to say that name, Zerba. Tough name with a lot of consonants. But thank you, Stephen, for that poignant reflection. Accusations from a narcissist are actually confessions. So if you've been accused of wrongdoing by someone and you're like, what? like, I didn't do that. Or like, I feel like I'm going crazy now, because that is not what happened. That is them telling you what they did. It's just like the darkness having to disclose what they do through movies and all sorts of other media, that most people don't understand, that the disclosure is happening in these subtle ways. And they believe that, you know, when people give their attention and energy to it, it's implicit consent. It's not. It's really messed up, but this is what they do too. The projection energy, the accusation energy is actually them telling you what they are doing themselves. It is them confessing the darker truth that lies within and trying to, you know, run a whole, what's the word? A whole hustle. It's a hustle. They're literally taking from you, maybe even your financial energy, your financial creation capacity. When they take your life force energy, that is what they're doing. They're siphoning your creation capacity. It's very dark, actually. So we get to say no more. We get to take our power back. And this is what the Way of Mastery assists us in doing. And this is what I teach if you'd like to go deeper. So Expansion Path of Mastery is my core program, and everything else I offer is ultimately assisting you on that path as well. So I will link everything below, and if you'd like to have a free consultation to see if my core program is a match for you, live calls and 12 deep dive modules with a lot of lessons that bring us through the journey, through the true journey. And it's a journey of embodied ascension as well, is really what it is. So it's coming back into the heart and really taking our power back. So I'm sending you so much love, onward and upward in love and light, and we got this. And of course, if you resonate with me and my message and my energy, I so appreciate the likes, subscribes, the comments. If you have been dealing with this yourself, please share below. And you don't have to get into detail. You don't have to share personal details, but know that I'm here. If you do feel like, you know, it's something really tough, or heavy on your heart is needing to be expressed. So I'm, again, sending you so much love, because this has not been an easy journey for any of us. But again, we got this, you got this, onward and upward, and it's time to rise. It is time to shine, my loves. All right, beautiful souls, I will see you soon.